Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a Evo Haven deck. We did just do a Haven deck, but I thought why not cover both of them since these two are lesser known versions and not really seen a lot, so I thought it might be interesting to cover them since they are fairly different in the way that they're played. For the most part, of course, they do run similar base engines. So the base engines being, of course, their draw power, and of course the Holy Bow as a mass removal, but almost everything else is pretty much different as far as that goes, because everything else is not as generic as those two cards. But for the most part, running of course as many Evos and Evo supported cards as we can in this deck, and running things that do mass damage to board, which, to be honest, Vengeful Radiance is the only card in this deck I don't like as much. Every other card serves a really good purpose. Vengeful Radiance just feels awkward, but that's my opinion for that one at least. Everything else, quite fun. Zeus obviously being a big finisher, but you can of course finish with lesser things. This is one of the few decks where Olivia, Blackened Wing, actually works really well because of course being so Evo focused around Zeus, being able to go really into the late game, I found this deck can drag out quite well. It really does help. So getting Olivia out and potentially comboing it with a low 2-drop on the first turn it's played can work out quite well. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this and we'll get right into it. So kicking us off, we are going up against a Rune.
My barrier is impenetrable.
Starting off with a pretty average hand, honestly. I'm not a big fan of what we did get, but really, other than Golden Bell, they really weren't going to be worth keeping. The 2-drop I considered for a minute, but just decided it wasn't worth. Unfortunately, we didn't redraw Holy Bow, so that's not great either. Featherflow Garden is actually great in this deck. It's a really good 5-drop and works really nicely when comboed with some of the other cards. So I really enjoy using that guy. We did end up with double Golden Bell, so we're going to have plenty of draw going forward. Now it's just a matter of making sure we can combo for turn 3 through 5 really well. Unfortunately, all we could do is get out the Golden City, which I did eventually want to get out anyway, so this wasn't so bad. And our turn 4 play needs to be half decent here, so going for the Warring Thunder and of course the Warring Thunder Hound or whatever, Heavenly Hound, sorry. Why was I thinking that again? Anyway, going for a pretty okay structure for our board, but our opponent's got a very solid one already. There's not a lot we can do to that right now, other than just Holy Bow it. And I don't really like the idea of just Holy Bowing their board right now. So that's going to be a little disappointing. Although we do have Madden, which is actually okay. We can remove the 2 biggest followers without any issues, stop them from getting too much value out of them, and set up a decent follower for ourselves. So it's actually not too bad. I also get to hold on to my Holy Bow, which could potentially wipe out a much bigger board. So now the only problem was coming up with what I should play next. I did end up deciding to go for the Holy Bow here to remove everything, even though I am going to lose it pretty much immediately. So I can get the extra totem. But as soon as we get the totem, I can use Featherfolk to then return it back, so we can potentially take out 2 followers like that, which is always an effective strategy. Plus upping our Evo count, which is always nice. So lovely art Monica, ideally you want to take out the 1-1 with the totem. That's our hope, a 50-50 chance. What do we got? And we got Monica. A little disappointing, because the 1-1 is actually no threat at all to us. And this amulet is great. Pinion Land or whatever it is allows you to, of course, get out easy followers, especially when you've got a city on board and you have more cards than your opponent. You automatically drop it to 1, which is pretty cheap. And even if you don't drop it to 1, dropping it to 2, you can use something like Featherfloak in the following turn to really crush your opponent. And this Grimnir pretty much destroyed their board, or did destroy their board more so. It didn't leave them many options now. Their hand count is quite low. They have to keep restocking using things like Monica's Familiar. I do actually plan on doing a video on this rune deck as well. I have got one set up for Evo rune, which is actually pretty cool. It's more like Ginger rune, I guess, but Evo is definitely part of its main focus. So now we can take out 2 things here. Upping our Evo count again by another 2. And worth of cards. And especially good since we're going into turn 10 where Zeus can potentially just win us the game. So Delta Cannon and Sapphire Rebel. That works out. It's quite a nice turn for our opponent for sure. So our only real option here was to go for the Warring Tempest, going for Grimnir, wiping the board, starting up again with Pinion Lake, since we're going to lose at Grimnir anyway. And I decided to force a draw out. I believe this was quite a long game from memory. I believe the Rune deck does drag us out quite well, keeping the game reasonably close. So I believe at this stage we've got about 5 to 6 Evos, I think. So that's not too bad. Zeus definitely has some potential to deal some serious damage, but we do need to get a little lucky. So once we take out the problem card here, Zeus is our next line of play. And unfortunately, we miss out on both healing and storm. So while we did build up a nice 10-15 follower, we missed out on its two biggest advantages. So that was a little disappointing. At least we can absorb a fair bit of this damage now. That probably would have been lethal to us normally in most situations. So they did have to put in a fair few resources. Definitely good to see that they had to waste all that. And now we have a 1 in 3 of actually getting what we want off this. And unfortunately we hit probably the worst follower on the board. The only real bonus is we can Zeus again and try again for some decent damage. This time we did get Storm and we did get Ward, so I guess that's okay, taking half their health. And they did manage to draw out quite a chunk of their deck. At this point we're playing on the clock of what person can lose the most cards or not be able to defend enough. And they're doing a pretty good job of staying alive. So Olivia Blackened Wing, plus our Holy Bow, that'll allow us to go for a nice Evo turn again. That was the advantage of Evoing so much, getting Olivia down, so we could combo it quite well. So that means we only leave the 3-3. They have literally one card in their deck now. So we've only got to manage another one turn after this. Which we do have another Holy Bow, not that we can really use it to our full advantage here. At least Warring Tempest takes out an entire board, and was enough to make them concede, so they really couldn't afford to restock again, which is great for us. So we have another matchup against HavenCraft, and HavenCraft has become very popular on the ladder right now. Not a huge shock considering. Again, we start off with Golden Bell, which is actually definitely one of the better cards to start with in any situation. And we have the Warring Tempest and the Warring Thunder, so they're both good options as well going forward. Not so good for turn 2, turn 3 plays necessarily, but definitely good Evo plays and Evo support cards. I did decide to get, of course, City of Gold out. Opponent had nothing on board. We did go first. There was really no reason not to. And since I didn't really have any other play, I decided for the turn 3 Grimnir. We do already have Keel in our hand, so that's at least some removal, potentially. Now, without much choice, I decided to, of course, take the Forbidden. Trying to get any more draw cards I possibly can. Fortunately, Olivia is actually not bad in this early game where we can actually take advantage of its Evo effects. Especially since now I do need to remove Lovely Harmonica. I don't really have a great way to do it other than just Forgotten Sanctuary, since that does allow us to avoid being taken out quickly. And frees up a couple of card slots in our hand, even though I think we'll still overdraw, just. So another lovely harmonica, definitely stocking the hands up. This rune deck has been very, very popular. It's actually surprised me a little bit with how popular it's been. So now we've got more Evo support here. We've also still got we got Warring Flame and Warring Thunder in our hand now as well, along with of course Grimnir, which is the just OP pretty much for removal in these kind of decks, when you can easily up your Evo counts. So while Evo currently is only I think at 2, because we haven't done too much Evo yet, we can very quickly raise that up in the next couple of turns, especially with 3 Warring Thunders in hand. And some more draw power. Oh, sorry. I decided to go for Sacred here. Mainly because I was looking just to go straight up damage route. Get them in range of Zeus as soon as I could. So there's Ginger. We didn't get to see Ginger, I don't think, in the last match at all. So seeing Ginger here does at least show that that's what most of these decks run. And it is a really good combo card. Ginger is a wonderful card when you're working it with the Monica. People have started to work that out though, and have started banishing, unfortunately, Monica's Familiar. So another couple of Evos. I believe that takes us to 5 at this point in the game. 1 that we've Evo'd ourselves, and 4 that we've got off other effects. It's a pretty decent start, really, especially when Prince of Cocytus is dropping. Even as a 1/1, it's not a fun card to have to deal with. And now they have a pretty good Monica play with a full board here. They got maximum value out of its removal effect. Which isn't very lucky for us yet. The only real bonus is that Holy Bow could actually just wipe this, so could Grimnir. So why not use it? I also decided to use the Evo on it, upping our Evo count as far as I could before Zeus. Since Zeus is going to be our major finisher at this point in the game. These Monica Familiars, once you start getting them out like this, are just absolutely insane value. You effectively get the 7-drop for 1 and no downside. Literally no downside to it. You can also actually combo it with Ginger potentially to generate Evos and get Ginger's effects, which is pretty cool. So Zeus for 15 is what we need. Our RNG on our side today, bringing out a nice 16 Storm to finish off the game. Took a little bit of the RNG there, but I wasn't too worried. Worst case, I could at least take out the 7/7, I reckon. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. The Evo Haven is quite interesting. Evo Rune is one that I will have coming up, and that one's semi-interesting. So hopefully that'll give you something else to play and something else to look at. If you guys are interested in trying out this deck, I'll leave a link in the description below. Be sure to like button and subscribe. Until next time, guys, see ya.